You hear me, Rob?
100%. Can you hear me,
I
my
can
friend?
hear you. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing tonight?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you at last.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just telling everybody in my intro that you are all the way from the UK via Nashville, and I am all the way from Boston via Texas. So we're both really far from home. Um,
Which Boston, though? Because we've got a Boston in the UK as well.
no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. No. Well, we have a new Boston here in Texas too, which is about an hour east of me too. So people always give me crap about that. Are you from Boston or New Boston? So Rob is here to talk about his brand new single, which is called "When You Can't Let Go," and this was a co-write with the phenomenal Marla Cannon-Goodman. So first of all, I gotta know a little bit about the song. Take us into the room as you guys are writing this song.
It was. I did two sessions with Marla. The first time I was in Nashville, and we'd written kind of like a really cool, like driving tune. I guess you'd call it. It's called "I'm Not Afraid to Fall," and it had a real good positive summer vibe to it. And then we came back in for another session, and at this point now, I'd had a little bit more time with Marla, and I was a little bit more confident in her company,
Mm-hmm.
and we sort of got talking a lot of more personal stuff, and I was telling her about I'd lost my best friend Marcus. I lost him during the pandemic, and it was any obviously any loss is always a tragic loss, but he was really young, and he'd got a baby on the way, and it was a whole awful thing that happened. And Marla was telling me that she'd recently been through a very difficult time herself. Her daughter had just lost a friend in a car accident. So we got talking about kind of like how grief is a journey, and how I think sometimes what humans we're sort of guilty of doing is trying to sort of box things off.
Yeah.
And so, like, okay, you've got to the point now where everything's okay. I'm now okay. I can move on. Of course, that's just not true.
It's called
You know.
compartmentalizing. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the concept behind the Titanic being unsinkable. Is they would close off different sections of the ship in order to save the rest of the ship. That's a lot like what grief is. You never get over it. You do try to box it away, but it always comes back, and typically in kind of the worst times for it to come back too, when you least expect it. I feel.
Yeah, and sometimes it can also surprise you because this situation with my friend, it's I read the eulogy at his funeral service, and I had a smile on my face, and it must have been extremely jarring for a lot of people because there's like this is not a happy event, but
Mm,
I can't think of Marcus without smiling
right.
because he was such a joyful human being,
Right.
and we had so much fun and happiness together that I can draw on that and to bring happiness to mind. And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to get in the song is like we didn't want it to be a song necessarily about how sad death is, but equally not, trying to make it this like everything's gonna be okay. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Death's all right
Yeah.
because it isn't. Death sucks, and the finality of it is very difficult. And so it was actually Marla who just came out with that line, when you can't let go, and it just came from there. And I written the sort of the guitar part, and I knew I wanted Marla to have that guitar. I knew I wanted her to be the first writer to have a get her teeth into it because she is an unbelievable co-writer, and she just fires out these lyrics and these ideas. And
She's
uh,
ridiculous. She's absolutely
yeah,
ridiculous. Yeah.
it was
Um,
a joy to watch. It was a joy to. It was a privilege to be able to be in that room and create this song. And I've written a lot of songs in Nashville. I've written a lot of songs with a lot of writers. I've written a lot of songs with Marla, but this one, I just knew straight away there was something special in there. And it sounds a little bit conceited perhaps to say that because I'm talking about my own song, but I think the reason I think I can get away with it is because what I'm in awe of is what Marla brought to the song. So it's like it's joyful for me to be able to have my name attached to this song.
I can
You
imagine
know,
what that's like. I mean, I know my podcast with Marla hasn't come out yet. It's, I think, about a week and a half away from being out, but we talked to her about a week ago, and she's just a phenomenal person. And then you realize just the brilliance that is this lady.
yeah,
You know, and then you think about where she came from. Her sister's amazing. Her dad's a legend. Like,
yeah,
it's
buddy.
just, yeah, it's just, I can't imagine as a musician such as yourself being in that room with her. I imagine you never get used to it, right? No matter how much time you spend with her.
Yeah, and what was great as well, it was the whole thing because Marla's part of the Carnival team.
Mm-hmm.
Carnival is situated on this beautiful corner in Music Row, and it's right across the street from RCA
Yep.
Studio B. So we're in the corner room, sort of looking out the window. So you got to now add another element to this in that I was brought up on a council estate in the northwest of England, you know, a relatively sort of working class, you know, poor area.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as a single mum family, and never thought I'd ever get to come to Nashville. I never thought I'd be able to do this. You know, it was like, you might as well be saying I would go into planet Mars. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
was just, it seemed like so inconceivable.
And
And then all
what's
of a
it like?
sudden you're there.
What are the differences between, say, UK country music and Nashville country? It's going to be kind of jarring as well, right?
Yeah, and do you know, I think that was one of the things that served me well when I was in Nashville is that I don't try and don the cowboy boots and the hat. You know, I have a huge love, a deep love and respect of country music. And I know it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's in my blood, but I'm not from Texas, I'm not from Alabama, I'm not from Tennessee. So all the things that I sing about and the things that I write about are from the point of view of what I know. What's amazing is the similarities.
Yeah.
I think particularly with the north of England, because the north of England is the real sort of gritty working class, you know, like
Yeah.
areas like Liverpool, Manchester, Stoke-on-Trent, Birmingham. That's why we have bands like Oasis, right?
Right.
And Black Sabbath and you know, and Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. No
But the
talent
country,
came from that area, right?
yeah, the Beatles, you know, well, what's it?
I think it's funny, like just reading your bio, how you're immersed in country music with all of them rock and roll influences, you know, around you. I can't imagine that you're probably growing up around like indicators about all of these bands, because I know how proud UK people are of their art over there as well. So there has to be reminders of all that everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I live half an hour from Manchester and half an hour from
It's
Liverpool,
not like we're
where I,
talking about like these huge UK country stars that are, you know, just all over the world. Like they don't exist really. I don't think, right?
no. That's very true. But I think what's nice is if you listen to Led Zeppelin, there's so much Laurel Canyon in there.
Yeah.
You listen to the Beatles; they were influenced heavily by obviously Elvis and also by Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, and of course, all of those artists have a huge connection back to Nashville.
Right.
So I think it's in there. But then I think also equally, you know, some of my favorite country and Americana and bluegrass artists have all embraced the Beatles. You know, I love Alison Krauss, I Will. Her version of I
Mm.
Will by Paul McCartney is just stunning,
Yeah.
you know. So I think, you know, I think what we can all agree on with country music is what it must be is authentic.
Hmm.
It must
Absolutely.
be authentic. And I think what I am so proud of with this song and with the whole album that's coming out next year is that when I came to Nashville, it was really important for me that it wasn't just a little bit of a holiday. It wasn't window dressing. It wasn't like me coming out to Nashville and say, okay, I've been to Nashville now, you know,
Hmm.
I'm a country artist now. I wanted it to still be very much me and from my frame of reference, but I wanted all the spaces in between it to be, you know, the crickets and the sound of the highway and
Hmm.
you know the hangovers that you get after a night on Broadway after drinking too much in Robert's Western World, and you can't you have to go and do that. You have to go and be there. And I spent, in the end, 4 months in Nashville.
Oh, well, I
And it
love
was
you sent me a
incredible.
list of folks that um, helped contribute to this record that's coming out in what, March of 2025,
Yeah,
right?
last 25.
And
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about Marla Cannon-Goodman, but man, Robbie McIntosh is on here, and Steve Dorff,
yeah.
Jeff Trott, Owen Lewis, like Diana Walsh. Like, you have some heavy hitters here on this record. This has to be a big thing for you. This is a debut record too, right?
Oh, it's kind of a strange one because it really is a debut album, but I have done some independent releases before, as I guess most artists do, right?
Right.
But yeah, this is kind of like the first, as we're sort of calling it, the first real album on the Absolute label. I couldn't believe it because when I came out to Nashville the very first time, I thought I'm going to have to really put in some work to try and convince these people. I didn't know what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
and what I was expecting was a lot of doors.
Slamming
Not
in your
necessarily
face.
not necessarily slamming in my face because I don't think
No,
it's the
that's what
Nashville
they
style.
do in Nashville.
It's just close it like that. Sir, move your foot from the door.
Right.
Leave the establishment.
It had to be the
But
accent. It had to
yeah,
be the accent, Rob.
yeah, I politely talked my way into a lot of rooms. No, it was honestly everyone was so lovely. Everyone was so lovely, and I think they got it. And I think because I didn't turn up, as I say, I wasn't, I didn't have the cowboy hat on. I wasn't there. Hey guys,
Mm-hmm.
they were just ready to write and ready to talk about what this project was for me. And what a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Steve Dorff, you mentioned now. I went to Steve's house
Wow.
and because that's where Steve's studio is, right?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
so he invites me to his studio. I go to his house and his assistant says to me, when you get to the house, you go through X door and then you go through Y door and then you're into the sort of reception area. Wait there, Steve will meet you. Well, I went in and I was there for 45 minutes waiting, and I was getting really, really nervous because the longer I was waiting in this room, I'm thinking, I'm just a guy from England who broke into Steve Dorff's house, and I don't think he knows I'm here.
Yeah.
What had actually happened is his assistant hadn't told him, or something had happened where he was like not expecting me to be there. And I swear to God, I'm sat there and I hear footsteps, and it's obviously a dog. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is this dog going to be like a guard dog? And all these things are flashing through my mind. I'm thinking, this is not the day I expected it to be. And then Steve just walks in, and the poor guy had been to get a haircut because he's flying to New York to go and sit on some very important meeting for the Songwriter Hall of Fame, of which he is a board member.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, who are you? I'm really sorry. I'm not breaking in. I'm not an offender. I am your morning writing session. My name's Rob. And he's like, he was obviously clearly alarmed at this person stood in his reception area. And then do you know what though? It broke the ice and we ended up having an amazing writing session.
Yeah, Steve's a sweetheart, man. I
nice.
still can't believe he agreed to an interview, and him and I talked for like 90 minutes, and I just barely scratched the surface of this man's career in 90 minutes.
He's done it all, man.
So I said, hey, Steve, what are you doing in December, man? Let's do a part 2. And sure enough, he's like, just send me a date, bro. We got this. So
that sounds like Steve.
Yeah, it's such a cool guy and an incredible just melody writer. I mean, he just comes up with the most incredible melodies. I love Steve Dorff to death, man. But Rob, we're so excited that you came on the show. I'm excited to show the new single. This is essentially your debut label single, right?
Well, we had this is the second single from the album.
Okay.
So we had Leave Tomorrow, which is the title track. That came out in September.
Okay.
And we were thrilled to bits because it reached number 10 on the country download chart. So I was amazed with that.
Congratulations.
This single does have a lot of significance, though, for me, because this is the first ever collaboration I've done, ever. Not just in terms of someone featuring on the record, but it's the first co-write I've ever done and released. So it was, and my first one Marla Cannon-Goodman.
Marla
I will take
Cannon-Goodman.
that.
Unbelievable. Rob, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to show this song to everybody out there. And Rob, I know the record is coming out in March. We'd love to have you back anytime on this show or any of the other stuff we have going on. And I got to let people know, Rob was the catalyst for this show. He emailed me. I thought this would be a great idea where he was like, we could talk about it live. We could do this. We could do that. And then my gears started moving and I was like, live would be cool as shit, man. So here we are. Yeah. I'm excited to play this for y'all. It is When You Can't Let Go, featuring Marla Cannon-Goodman. Rob, I'll catch you later, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, man. Love you to bits, man.
Yeah, you have a great night.